David Hogg, a controversial DNC vice chair, is pledging to upend Democratic primaries. They got 20 million bucks, dang, in safe blue Democratic primaries. However, historically speaking, that has not worked out for them. They just got obliterated. Hogg burst onto political scene as a survivor of the high school shooting in Parkland. Yeah, really parlayed that into a whole career.
Democrats, the thing is, they say Democrats fall in love when Republicans fall in line. Although I think Republicans have fallen in love a little bit.
A Democrat civil war a-brewing. Remember this guy named David Hogg? Yeah. Well, he got elected to be the DNC vice chair, so he's got some power now in the Democratic Party. They've got a fever. They just want more progressive liberalism. They think that's going to bring them back into power. And so now what's happening is this guy is going to make some changes, saying in an unprecedented move, Politico, DNC official, this guy, is going to spend big money to take down fellow Democrats. Oh, no. And this dude is ultra left, so I guess that means he's going to go after the middle. Now this will be fun. Telling us that David Hogg, a controversial DNC vice chair, is pledging to upend Democratic primaries by funding candidates who will challenge what they quote as ineffective, sleep-at-the-wheel Democrats. Great. The move puts Hogg, the now 25-year-old and first gained national stature, he survived high school shooting, on a collision course with his own party. Leaders we deserve. He co-founded in 2023, announced plans. They got 20 million bucks, dang, in safe blue Democratic primaries. That man really, that kid, really turned that like Second Amendment anti-gun thing into something, didn't he? Against sitting House members. Whoa, sitting House members by supporting younger opponents. It's good. Throw them out. Now, what ultimately that means is like these lifelong incumbents, if they lose, then it's basically an open seat, which is good for us. So in an interview with Politico, Hogg said the group will not back primary challenges in battleground districts, though, because I want us to win the majority. And it's also not going to target members solely based on their age. He hates the seniors. Disrespectful. We have a culture of seniority politics that has created a litmus test of who deserves to be here. We need people, regardless of their age, that are here to fight. In an unprecedented and controversial move from a national officer within the Democratic Party that will enrage some insiders, committees like the DNC have traditionally not imposed incumbents in their own parties, instead focusing on the Republicans. The DCCC is explicitly set up to protect incumbent members by providing resources. Hogg's decision comes at a time when the DNC is already grappling how to beat Trump, trying to figure out what to do. Even Chuck Schumer is scrambling. Maybe they'll challenge him. Why not? Chuck Schumer's like, oh! Because AOC, right? She's got a big leg up there in the polls in New York. When asked if DNC chair Ken Martin supports his plan, Hogg said Martin certainly has different views on challenging incumbents. So he's the vice chair. The DNC chair is like, we don't like that idea. He's like, well, we're doing it anyways. And the DNC chair's like, okay, I guess, David, you're in charge. These are disagreements in our party about the right way to approach this moment. There are certainly disagreements we have. What I will say about Chair Martin, even if we do have disagreements, he's doing an excellent job of building and reforming our party. It's beautiful. In a statement, Martin said that in order to ensure we are as effective as possible as electing Democrats, it's our long-standing position that primary voters, not the national party, not us, determine the general election candidates. He praised Hogg as a passionate advocate, adding that he's grateful for his service, whether it be in his role as the DNC chair or whatever. And a DNC aide granted anonymity also noted that all DNC officers other than Hogg signed a neutrality policy, pledging to stay out of the primaries. It's interesting. I actually can appreciate what he's doing in terms of consistency. Like, we get frustrated as hell over here with our squishy Republicans like Murkowski and Collins and all these things, right? And so the balance, the dynamic that you have is if you challenge Collins, challenge Murkowski, although Murkowski's kind of a different breed, or like McConnell, let's say, right? You challenge McConnell, and historically speaking, because he's squishy, and you beat him, but then you lose the general because now it's an open seat, and now you have a more moderate Democrat who comes in and swoops that up, right? So you can understand what he's trying to do. And let's say he takes out some being politically aligned. He's standing for his values. And I appreciate him standing for his lunatic, whack job, lefty, psycho values. That's great. He should stand for them and stand for them aggressively because they're bad, right? They lose. The reason I think from our perspective, why we want to challenge, and he's probably sharing the same lens to be clear, is we think that our political perspective is a winning message. Guys like Mitch McConnell, who are not really acting in American interests, who are acting in foreign interests or acting to work with the Democrats, we think that if our party gets rid of those people, we'll be able to, to see the truth of who he is or have a more winning message that ultimately leads to electoral victory. I'm sure David Hogg thinks the same thing. However, historically speaking, that has not worked out for them. They just got obliterated and their polls are in the toilet. So if he thinks doubling down on that strategy is working for him, I understand the principle and I appreciate the principle. But in terms of the deliverable and the tactics and the message behind the tactic, I don't think it's not a really smart play there, but we're for it. We support him running with this. We support Jasmine Crockett for the Democratic presidential nomination. We are on team Democrats for Jasmine. Hogg burst onto political scene as a survivor of the high school shooting in Parkland. Yeah, I really parlayed that into a whole career. Was elected as a vice chair now over the objection of moderates. Traditionally, DNC vice chairs are largely ceremonial roles, but no, he's testing the limits of the position, seeing how much they can stomach this internal dissent. Hogg argued that backing primary challengers is in line with what he ran for. I'm not in this position because I want to bank my political capital. I want change. I want to see a stronger Democratic Party, right? Exactly what I said. So he acknowledged there are going to be people who are very, very upset about this, but the Democrats are in a crisis right now. It's true, they are. And the solution to their crisis is to extricate this wing of their party, which is lunacy. But they're doubling down on it, and even their leaders, so-called, are caving. So they're being commandeered right now, and Hogg is taking it over. It's like, good for him. Our base is craving dramatic change. We need to show our base, that's right, we're here to fight for them. We need to show there are younger faces stepping up. But he did name check two exceptions. He said he's not going after Pelosi or Jan Schakowsky, who is 85 and 80, respectively. He described them as fighters who are delivering. But they've also both drawn generational challenges. Other people, this YouTube influencer is running against Schakowsky. Oh, that's interesting. Running against people. There are Democratic candidates who are pitching themselves as younger generational change agents. Several Democratic operatives, granted anonymity to discuss this, said they expect more challenges against older members in New York, Maryland, and Massachusetts. It's a civil war in the Democratic Party. Well, good for David Hogg. We support him. Here's what he said in response to this article that popped. He says, look, we're not looking to challenge some Democratic members in safe blue seats. We will not be supporting young people attempting to primary frontline Democratic incumbents, right? We will have a heavy emphasis on supporting young candidates in general elections in frontline districts critical to winning majorities. And so he's, made some message, but we don't need to lose 15 basis points in our testosterone levels listening to him. So that's happening. We also got George Clooney, who's coming out and trying to rekindle his image out there, saying, hey, sorry I might have cost you guys the election. If George Clooney didn't write that op-ed, they may not have afuera Joe Biden out of the White House. And Joe Biden may have done better than Kamala. I don't know that he would have lost all 7 swing states. Maybe he could have picked up Pennsylvania or something like that because it's, Scranton Joe or whatever. I doubt it. But Clooney played a role in this and they put Kamala up. We got Kamala. Yikes. So here's Clooney now trying to figure out what they've done, saying, I've got a moral virtue inside of me and I have to take it out to America.
Do you have your eyes? There's one person in particular I think is spectacular. There are a few. I like Andy Bashir. I like...
Oh, you're Kentucky.
I'm a Kentucky guy.
Yeah,
I like him. He's a good guy. And Martin, he's won in a red state. He's a Democrat. I like Gretchen, I think is very good. But who I think is levitating above that is Wes Moore. I think he is the guy that's handled this tragedy in Baltimore beautifully. He's tours of duty in Afghanistan, active duty. He speaks sort of beautifully. He's smart. He ran a hedge fund. He ran the Robin Hood Foundation. He's a proper leader. And Democrats, the thing is, we say Democrats fall in love and Republicans fall in line. Although I think Republicans have fallen in love a little bit. I like him a lot. I think he could be someone we could all join in behind. We have to find somebody rather soon.
Yeah, rather soon. You got to figure it out. So he's, you can tell, been putting a lot of thought into this. And it's interesting to see him. I've got more gray hair than he does. I was wondering, how old is this dude? Because they're popping out of my head all over the place. You can see them, but you can't see a single one in George Clooney's hair. And the comments in the chat have been just outstanding. I think you might be right. There might be shoe polish in there. I really can't tell. But it's a lot. But there's an identity crisis. They're all going through this identity. Who am I? Who am I becoming now? What's my next chapter of life going to look like? And he's going back to like the 90s, man. He's going to go out there. What were his movies? Who remembers? No one knows. Whatever they were. Forgotten about him a long time ago. Anyway, so that's George Clooney. They're trying to figure out who's coming next. Wes Moore, Gretchen Whitmer. We'll see who they settle on, but we support Jasmine Crockett.